And good afternoon, and thank you all for being there. Sustainability is a combination, an amalgamation of the human species and nature. How do we keep them both going, and how do we preserve them both and make something that is continuous, that goes on and on and on? Many people come on this planet and they want to do something good to leave their mark. All too often we find people that are with good intentions and doing good will save money, make money. When they die, they name some building or something after them. However, with today's generations and today's thinking, and the fact that I think the energy of the planet, the frequency is rising, we have another breed. And the other breed is people of all ages, very young to those that are in their very senior years, are looking at their own universe more and more every day. And what can I do within my own universe? We're all individuals, and we have what I call the power of one. Before it was, well, when something becomes popular and the masses do it, I'm going to get involved and be part of the right direction at the right time and be part of the masses. Along the way, they forget that the masses are made up of individuals. That individual is the start of the mass. So we now get more into people and a frequency that is more thinking of, I am my own universe. What can I do? What power do I have within my universe to make changes on this planet? Obviously, joining in with everyone else's universes or everyone else's cause expands it. But what can I personally do? And do it not because I get big press on it, not because everyone thanks me, not because I'm on top of a mountain, I feel like the greatest thing in the world, because I'm being acknowledged, but do it because they feel it's the right thing to do. All too often I go on television, whether it's CNN, Fox, MSNBC, CNBC, and Bloomberg, et cetera, and occasionally they make the mistake by saying, well, JP, you represent the 1%, the billionaires. And how about this 99% that want the billionaires to pay more, and the billionaires are really taking advantage of the 99%? And I immediately stop them, and then they usually don't ask me this ever again. And I say that I am the 99%. And I am the 1%. I started out with nothing. Isn't it the American dream? If you work hard and you have a freedom and a good idea, that you can get really good stuff, you can make money, you get in a position where you could change things for yourself and the world. Isn't that good? Well, why is it not we, the people of the United States of America, not this group that doesn't have as much money or as many jobs against this group? That is the biggest bunch of BS in the world. Well, that usually stops everybody from talking to me anymore about that subject. I still go on television and I go on to explain, why don't you talk about the Giving Pledge? A lot of people don't know about it, and a lot of the press are wonderful people. Erin Burnett is one of the best there is, by the way, and she was one of the first to ask me, and she agreed, yeah, JP, it's we the people, the 99 and 1% has won, but people don't talk about the Giving Pledge. There's, I believe, over 150 of us now throughout the world. We're all billionaires, and we've all pledged to give 50% of what we make while we're alive or after we die, or in between the two, we're all, to make the world a better place to live, to take care of the planet and its people. They don't talk about that very much. They talk a lot about this fellow named Charles Koch, the Koch brothers. Oh, they're so right-wing, they're going to destroy the environment. I sat down with Charles Koch once and found out what he did, he never talks about, to change lives for people on the planet. It was like, you gotta be kidding. Boy, they never talk about that when they talk about how you're in oil and gas and you're one of the richest men with your brothers on the planet. He goes, yeah, JP, they don't. We put it out sometimes, but no one ever covers it. I said, well, you know, one day I may just do a television show where it's a reality show showing where people do this. Now, what I promised I would do today is not just talk about why we should do good, why we should pay rent on the planet Earth for being here, by doing things good to make the planet, if possible, better than it was when we get here. I think the more important thing is to tell you how we do it, how it is done, so everyone can spread the word. And they could start thinking themselves like, wow, he did it, here's how he did it. Let's get innovative and do the same way. Let me start with Patron. When I started Patron in 1989, A dear friend of mine brought me this really cool looking bottle. We got this recipe for tequila, and he said, JP, I found this man named Francisco Alcaraz. He can make this tequila even smoother. It'll be the smoothest tequila in the world without having to put in artificial flavor, which some people do. I said, great. I tasted it, and this guy made it even smoother. Then I said, what are we going to put it in? And my friend showed me this beautiful bottle. It's the Patron bottle you see today. And I said, Martin, can we get this made out of recycled glass? I'm going through a thing right now to try and recycle things. He goes, I think so. So he checked it out. We started out with 1,000 cases of Patron. That is 12,000 bottles. It was so expensive to make because of the quality of that agave we use, that just high-end Highlander blue agave from the Weber district. I mean, just unreal. And the process took much longer than any other tequila to get it this smooth. We had to sell it for $37 a bottle in 1989. The average tequila went for $5 a bottle. The best one on the market was $14 a bottle. We had to sell it for $37 a bottle. But I said, let's make them out of recycled glass. And the paper around it, recycled paper. Great, we did it. Let me move forward. Not only was it a good idea, it was a great idea. As we grew, we realized that, man, could you make bottles a heck of a lot cheaper if you didn't have to go through the reprocessing and recycling of glass. We could do that. By gosh, if we went to big barrels, big vats, giant vats to make Patron tequila, man, I would cut down on my production instead of all these little, small, old-fashioned, hand-pounded copper vats. But then we realized that if I did that, what was I doing? I was going for money, not for quality and not for the planet. So I said, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to take my profits and build lots of these little small vats. Today, Patron tequila is made the same way. Tons of little small vats. If you go online to patronspirits.com, you'll see them the way we make our product. Didn't change the thing. It was good for the environment. It was very, very good for the product. And when it came to bottles, recycled glass, we created a business for people. Every bottle of Patron today, way over 30 million bottles, are all recycled glass. Every single one of them are recycled glass. Now, what did I do with that? I created an industry for future customers, so it was a very profitable thing to do also. The fellow that goes up and picks up the glass out of the streets of Mexico City, Guadalajara, we see all the glass before, thrown by the side of the road, the pop bottles, everything else. You won't see as much anymore. In some cases, none. People pick it up. Now they sell it to the collector. Are they going to be people when they get their extra pennies and nickels and pesos to buy Patron? No, they're not going to be my customer. But are they going to be able to now buy a new t-shirt, buy something at the taco stand, maybe buy a small appliance for their house? Yes. So now they're creating more business from the bottom up. Now, with these people they're buying the taco off of, they're buying the t-shirt off of, be my next Patron customer? Probably not. They could buy things much less down there, and they don't mind. They don't have to treat themselves. They just want that tequila high. No problem. But now those people that are making some more money off the t-shirt guy and off the guy coming over to buy the clam or to buy the taco is now being able to buy a TV set, go to a better restaurant, get better close to themselves. So it keeps moving up. Pretty soon, that's going to be my future person. But that person at the bottom, all of a sudden now has an income, better things for his life, which helps create more jobs for all those things that he's buying. It's kind of from the bottom up economics. But at the same time, from the top down, we are doing it. We found out that down there in Mexico and where we all know Teltenito, people didn't care. People were making tequila and dumping what they call the stillage into the ground, into waterways. Well, we found out that that stillage is extremely polluting, bad, bad, bad stuff. So we, as stewards of the planet, because it was the right thing to do, spent millions of dollars, putting in a water treatment system that took all the stillage and the fiber, cleaned it so clean that we could reuse that polluted water to water agave plants or our garden if we wanted to. And what was left in the fiber, we would give away to the locals as organic fertilizer. We found a great way to do this. Was it profitable? Yes. How did it start out being profitable? We felt so good. All 1,800 people that worked for us down there at Patron felt so good. That was human profitability. Hey, look what we're doing. Isn't this cool? As we spread the words to others, all of a sudden we found out that other people were spending the money putting in the stillage process. We said, wow, we started something really, really cool here. There's more profit. We are saving our planet. Isn't this wonderful? So when you look at what you do, there's different ways to measure profit and how you get that profit. Is it direct dollars? Is it profit which is consciousness? Is it profit because what you're doing is representing your universe, which is part of our universe, and making it better? And that's pretty profitable. People look at success. What is success? Is it how much money you have? Or is it how well you do what you do? At Paul Mitchell, we started with $700. No one would loan us any money. But we knew it was not right to test on animals. So we immediately started testing on ourselves. Didn't pay that little bit of money for someone to put it in a rabbit's eye, the Drew test, I think they called it. See how much shampoo or conditioner will take before they go blind. We didn't do that. We made products, the best products in the world for hair. So if we did that, why not test it on humans? We tested everything on ourselves, every single thing. Even Baby Don't Cry shampoo, the original formulation we came up with, I put in my eye and I cried and it stung. And I told my formulators, man, before you give me something again, put it in your eye or test it on yourself first. This is not cool. So as Paul Mitchell started developing and started growing a little bit, we had other things we could do to recycle and give back. Things, for example, that deal with the human population. There were times when I worked for somebody, I had $1 for lunch. Doesn't buy you very much. So as soon as we could afford it, everyone had free lunch. Good free lunch. You got free lunch at Paul Mitchell. Hey, that works pretty good for us, for people, for the planet. In Mexico, you work for me during the day at Patron, you have chefs making you lunch. You work on the night shift, you have chefs making you dinner. At Paul Mitchell, we continued that on and on. We became a pretty green company, used recycled cardboard, as much recycled plastic as we could without the bottle falling apart, which was very, very difficult. We did what we could. We thought, we're pretty green. Then all of a sudden we realized we don't have to do this, but how do we offset the carbon? The government tries, I think, many people to do something right. Too many politicians only want to be reelected. Most of them have never run a business in their life and don't know what the hell they're doing with a budget. It's sad. If we wait for the government to solve our problems, it's not going to happen. Or it's going to happen in a very, very small way. We have to do it ourselves, period. We have to do it ourselves, and private industry has to do the same thing. So we look at this, the carbon, all the carbon being used. You guys aren't passing the right laws in the right time. It's just not right. So let's look at that. We have at Paul Mitchell a very, very large line called tea tree. Those tea tree leaves are picked in Australia. Trucks go out, they pick it, they process it down there. They're using trucks, using machinery, they put it on boats, they ship it to us. We repackage it, we make formulation. We spent the money to find our carbon footprint. Once we found how much carbon we were using, we said, how do we best offset it? So we looked at various organizations of conservation in the world, and all of a sudden we started planting trees. We planted more trees than the carbon we use, not just to offset the carbon we use, but to give a little extra for maybe somebody else that hasn't quite gotten there yet. Ed Begley Jr. is one of the most incredible human beings. He's the guy that walks that walk, built the first house, used a bicycle for power to create electricity in his house. This guy's a total cool guy. So he really did a lot of things that were innovative. So in 2008, when we went through that financial crunch, you might say, we realized that we're really green, especially with power, but let's see what we could do. We brought somebody in to check our whole corporate headquarters out and our facilities, our warehouses, everything else. Found out little things to do. Little things like you have a monitor in your bathroom. When you walk in, the light goes on. When you walk out, the light goes out. Little things like that. We actually improved our energy use, which is profit to the bottom line, by 25% that year. Amazing. We didn't even realize that. There's other little things you could do and it all mounts up. So it's we the people that want to go ahead and do something like that. And we look at other things that are going on this planet, and how do you solve problems? Not just talk about we got to solve them, but how do you solve problems? You start doing it by you yourself wanting to be a university of one, a whole university of one, a planet of one, a universe of one. You are it. You're the education, you're the terracotta, you're everything of one. You got to have that mindset. I'm going to do it and not depend on somebody else. And I could, of course, get around other people to do it. So we look at things out there, and recently my stepson came up with a company called Renew Logic. Renew Logic is one of the most amazing things. It's out of Austin, Texas, by the way. And I said, this is so good, I'm going to put some big money into this one. We're going to be one of our owners, my wife and I, in Renew Logic. You have all this junk, electronic junk, sitting in people's warehouses, trying to sneak to China to destroy. I know one of the big companies, not to mention a name, got busted trying to put it in a landfill and cover it up with stuff so it didn't look like it was electronic junk that could hurt our environment. So Renew Logic was a company that made sense. What does he do? Any of your junk, send it to me. Send me your junk here in Texas. We will take your electronics apart. We will take out all the precious metals and separate them and make them go to the right locations. And how about all that junky plastic that is done? We'll get it in the right place to grind it up and reuse it as brand new plastic. So almost all of that junk people are trying to hide and get rid of, or not, and somehow, or just hide warehouses full of stuff, they could put back into the planet again and reuse it again, reuse it all again. And by the way, if there's enough stuff in there where it has some value to it, we'll write you a check. Can you imagine some of these big companies or little companies with all this electronic junk? And some of it is 10, 15, 20 years old. They don't know what to do with it. All of a sudden getting a check for this junk, sending it one location, and they take over in the most ecological way. Renew Logic is the thinking of where people make a profit, take care of the planet, and take care of future things to come. How do we do it? We also do it by taking care of the people and letting the children of our planet know they can participate in making a good profit, but taking care of the planet at the same time. Growing up in East Los Angeles, I was a member of the Variety Boys and Girls Club. Now, we didn't have any money, so if I got a quarter for an allowance, that was a big deal. We just didn't have any money, and still in that community, they don't have a lot of money. So an allowance wasn't a big deal, but the Variety Boys Club, they let us build flower boxes with a quarter's worth of wood that we would have on credit. My brother and I would build it, go out and sell it. I was 7 years old at the time, for 50 cents. Go back, pay our quarter off, we had a 50-cent profit. We could build another one. Well, in those days, for little kids, a big soda pop was a nickel, a candy bar 3 cents. We were on top of the world, and they showed us how to use wood. We underprivileged children, is what they called us, the underprivileged ones, would go free of charge for 5 days up to Angeles National Forest to a camp for underprivileged children. We would learn about pine needles, how to braid them together, just all kinds of cool things about nature, about bees, about trees, and wow, trees were so cool. So in our little neighborhood, we had a tree. And it was a neighborhood of little gangs, not like they have today. Ours was called the Pink Rats. We were all 7, 8, 9 years old. We weren't bad guys. We had push-button knives, but we never used them. But on our tree, because it was a tree, it was green. And because what we learned about how cool trees were, we said, this is our sacred tree. Nobody can carve on it. Somebody carves on it, we're going to beat them up. No initials, nothing was carved on that tree. It was just something that went along with what you do. And a lot of people are idle and do things that aren't the friendliest thing because they have nothing better to do. They're idle. They go out there and they paint on walls, graffiti, everything else. Well, how do you stop that? That's a pollution on our environment. That's a pollution on letting people be free and seeing something pretty. How do you do that? So a company was developed that I'm obviously invest a lot of money in called Rock Mobile, R-O-K Mobile. Well, how the heck can a mobile phone company change things for people? Mobile phones, come on. ROK Mobile, we want to address a few things. How do you make it a lifestyle with information that'll bleed out to you about the environment or making your life better, making the planet better, and do it where people could afford something, have a lot of stuff free on there. So Rock Mobile, we got a hold of a couple of the big telephone companies, Sprint's, Verizon's, big music companies, Sony, Warner Brothers, Universal, a whole bunch of others, some big insurance companies and a few others, and came up with this. Children, people that want health care that can't afford it. This is part of taking care of the people and the planet. I want you all to picture this. It's very real. For $49 a month, and yes, we put millions into it, and we could do it because I put all the cash in, and so did my partner. We have no debt. $49 a month, period. You get all your phone calls. You get all your texting. You get your data. You get over 20 million songs and music. You get $100,000 worth of accidental life insurance. All your calls to Mexico. 500 minutes international. Besides that $100,000 worth of accidental life insurance, you get $20,000 worth of burial insurance in case you don't die by accident. But you also get telemedicine. Any smartphone, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, you've got a doctor on the phone with you. If he prescribes something to you, you get a discount. Can you imagine all the small businesses that have to hold back in doing good things they want to do for the planet because they could barely do something good enough for their own staff they want and they can't afford it? I can't afford to give you life insurance. I can't give you burial insurance. I can't give you medical insurance. It's the first step in that direction, so they have it all. Now, how do we include the kids in this and get the kids money so they'd be able to afford to do this and they could do nice things for themselves and not buy, very important, not buy the cheapest food because you don't have the money. It's called the disease of being not so wealthy, where because you have so little, you buy the cheapest flour and you just buy junk food. When you're hungry, the body says, feed me, feed me. It doesn't say, I need a carrot, I need an orange, give me a broccoli. It says, feed me. So people go out and stuff themselves. It's not nutrition. Feed me more. All of a sudden, they get very, very heavy set because of the quality of food. You give them good food that they could afford, it reverses it just because they're eating good food. So how do you take care of kids? Well, let's just take some of our profit. We're doing good. Let's give all these kids $5 each for their own phone. They want to sign themselves or their family up. And then for 12 months to follow, another $5 every single month, period. If you bring someone else on in 2 or 3 months, same exact thing happens. The average kid, they already did the analysis on this, is going to have at least 10 people, minimum. That's $50 every single month for a kid. Also, all the messages we give them, as they look at the material, there's an ecological message in there somewhere or a human message in there somewhere to get kids to think about more one another. At the same time, give them reasons, get them involved, get them money, and let them do things that are better off for them. There's a lot of things one could do when they put businesses together, or a lot of things you could do when you look at your existing business right now. I'll bring up another thing dealing with the world and ecology. And by the way, you guys have to tell me when I have 5 minutes left, because I'll just keep on talking, okay? So someone let me know when I'm 5 minutes out, okay? Another good thing is, how do you change the planet? How do you change the world? If anyone's ever been to Haiti or the Dominican Republic, it's one island. Half of it is green and lush, and the other is barren. The Haiti side, they cut down all the foliage, the trees to make charcoal. They want that charcoal. That charcoal is how they cook and everything else. So what do you do to change these things? How do you get people to be able to not need that charcoal to cook on? It's mainly cooking, not heating, obviously. It's down there in the Dominican Republic and in Haiti where it's pretty warm. How do you cook your food? How do you clean your water? Water's a very bad thing. I'm one of the biggest supporters of Bobby Kennedy's Waterkeeper Alliance. We fight and we win every case we have in court to get those that are polluting the waterways. But it's not just busting the polluters to stop it. How do you eliminate in the first place? How do you grow these trees back? So at Rock Mobile, we had another division, Rock Water. And we're coming out with a unit. We don't think it'll cost more than $150. It's this big, this wide, this tall, and it opens up. It uses no batteries. You can put in the middle of nowhere. It opens up and it cleans 8 gallons of dirty, bacteria-infested water every single day because of the heat of the sun and the way it's all been directed. You pour it in there and at least 8 gallons a day comes out of the cleanest, most purest water out of some of the worst water in the world. 1,100,000,000 people are drinking bad water today. 6 million children die every single day through diseases related to bad water. So, okay, well that takes care of clean water, but how about cooking? We need the charcoal to cook. With the same unit, after it's on in the sun for 2 hours, you could cook anything you want in there with that same heat in a matter of minutes. Imagine that, having a unit like that at your house, wherever you live, or by your tent or under your tree, where all of a sudden it gives you all the purified water you and your family are going to need and will cook your food. Now you don't have to chop down those trees. Now maybe there's a chance those trees will grow back because you have lots of rainfall. Now you have something that is going to be sustainable. That's how we think. So our first idea was, how do we solve the problem? In Africa, in many places of the United States, by the way, too, you've got some pretty bad water. I mean, when that thing in Flint was going on, man, I wish we had 1,000 of them to send up there so people at least drink some clean water very efficiently. Yes, it'll also become a profitable business, because when people realize this, are you kidding? For just a couple $100, we could have this in our house for emergencies or our camping site or whatever. So it's thinking where you have conscientious capitalism. But that conscientious capitalism thinks about, how can I do something that affects the world, affects the people, and affects the planet? You saw some little pieces up there on that little trailer of a film, what's at least a documentary, that is coming out at the end of June and into July. It's called Good Fortune. Joss T. Kell produced it. He's an award-winning Echo film producer. He did Fuel and several others. Great guy. And it's all about, if you have a fortune, whether it's a little or whether it's big, you could change the planet with it. It kind of changes people's minds about people that American dream came true for them, but look at some of the things they're doing, and you can do it too. Here's what we're doing. Here's how we got out of homelessness. Here's how we got out of this. Here's how we got out of that. Here's how we helped the planet out. It was a documentary. We showed it at 2 film festivals, one in Europe. They immediately wanted a theatrical release. We said, but wait a minute, it's a documentary. They said, yes, but the world is finally ready for a show like this. They want to see it, and it's got to be a TV series coming out on this thing here. We were surprised. We came to the United States. We entered 2 film festivals as a documentary. I think it was 3 weeks ago, we won the Sedona Film Festival, not just for the best documentary, but the best film of show. Now, people like Lionsgate are saying, we want to release in the United States. And theaters said, really? We were hoping to get on TV one time, and I'm going to give it away free to everybody. It's about an hour and a half long. Has an educational things for kids on how you can start with nothing and get something done and overcome adversity and help the planet at the same time. So we're doing a premiere in New York on the 22nd. And I believe on the 27th or 28th, the second premiere will be here in Los Angeles. And then we're going to release it simultaneously in 10 markets, major markets throughout the United States, Chicago, Miami, other major markets. And if it stays in theaters for a while, great. If not, we'll get it every place we can. But here's the message I want to give you. A couple years ago, 5 years ago, 8 years ago, when reality TV came along, I was approached, Eloise was approached to do a television show. We said, well, how are you going to do it? They said, we're going to do it to show how you guys live your life, all the nice things you have, and your staff, their controversy, what they go through working around you guys. And we said, okay, we're not going to do it. We're not going to do it because, one, we don't have controversy. Our people are happy. And we're not going to talk about what we have. We'll talk about what we do with what we have. They said, well, we kind of need that controversy. We're not the right guys for you. As some of you may know, I went on Shark Tank 2 years ago, and I became the good shark. Well, it messed up the show a little bit because there was no controversy. You have a damn good idea. You should be backed up. Yay, let's go forward. Not negotiating for how much profit can we make off of you. Wasn't that seen at all? How you help people out a little bit. People got to have that mentality. They have to start doing it. So anyways, when we went and talked to some groups about this is in the last several months. We were told by some of the biggest people in TV now, the world is now ready for it. If you approached us on this idea that Joss, by the way, T. Cal and Rebecca T. Cal came up with, of having a TV show, JP, you could be the narrator. Your documentary will be brought down to 40 minutes. The rest are TV commercials and, of course, station breaks. It'll be a 1-hour show, and the show will do this. It'll be about people that are positive, in a business that is profitable, that takes care of the planet and the people, and they're excited about it. And JP will do it this way. The first one will be you, and if you like, which we would like very much, we'd like you to introduce, you be the narrator, not narrator, but like Rod Sterling did years ago with Twilight Zone. Is anyone old enough to remember Twilight Zone? Oh, yes, there are a few, okay. In other words, he came on, introduced it, talked a little bit about it, but at the very end, he commented on it. I would do exactly the same thing, where it's that kind of a show. And we're trying to do it now and talk to these TV people, which are cool people, about all positive. Yeah, check out adversity. There'll be adversity on there. Well, who would people want to see on a show like that? That could be boring. Oh, really? You think my thing was hot? Why don't I take some people from the Giving Pledge? Some of these people that came from nothing, friends of mine that are from Horatio Alger, the only award given in the United States for people that the American dream came true. They went through adversity, but they did something good for the people, and they still do it. People like that, people that you've never heard about, that started with nothing and ended up taking care of the people, the planet, and growing a business at the same time. What's the viewer going to see? They're excited because they'll see a lot of names they've heard that had no idea what they did. They'll see how they did it, which will influence them and how to do it themselves. They'll find people that were homeless like me, or people they've never heard their name before. All of a sudden create things that were big and beautiful that helped everybody along the way. This is powerful influence. As we go along in life, things happen for us. People say there's fate. They say we have our destiny. Some people believe it, some people don't. I want to tell you, there is something called fate. There is something called destiny. I worked in the professional beauty industry, when I did enter that industry, for 3 major companies. One of them fired me, and I think one reason was I went into the room where I had these little marmoset monkeys. They kept in this room for experimenting with shampoo and conditioner. I said, they're monkeys. You know, take them outside for a walk. No, they got to stay in the room in their cages. They don't even see the light. So I said, this is wrong. I'm going to buy a little leash. I'm going to come in and take these guys each for a walk outside after hours with the sun shining and bring them back in. No, you can't do this. It's going to upset everything. What you're doing is wrong. Well, that didn't go over good with upper management. I was fired a couple weeks later, even though both my divisions of the company were up 25%. But no, I wasn't in the corporation. The second company that hired me, I actually increased their sales. I was head of all management training and staff training with this company. And all of a sudden, they had a 50% increase. They were a multi-billion-dollar company that year. They brought me in and said, JP, on the weekends, you are down there at Lovin's at Griffith Park, not playing canasta with us. Guys, I'm younger than you are, man. You know, I want to go to Lovin's. I don't want to sit around and play canasta with you. I understand you not wanting me, I don't go to your temple because I'm not Jewish. But that's your thing on Saturday. But on Sundays, to sit around and play canasta, it's just not me. JP, you're not one of us. We're going to fire you. No, they did. By the way, the company sales went straight down afterwards, and all 3 of those guys were fired themselves. They had the wrong attitude towards people and trying to do something that was cool. The third company, I tripled their sales. They were a small company. They came to me and said, JP, we have to let you go because we have this guy named David Chapman that'll do your job at 1/3 the amount of money. I said, but guys, you're only paying me $3,000 a month and 6% of new sales. He goes, well, that's what got you the new sales. Because, JP, you made more than the owner of the companies have made because of all your commission. I said, but look at your company is bigger. We got to let you go, JP. And they let me go. I started John Paul Mitchell Systems a short time later. Our backer of $500,000 pulled out, never gave us a penny. So we started as best we could. But there's fate. Had we started with this guy, he would have owned 60% or 30%, 40% of the company, my partner and I 30% each. We ended up owning it all ourselves. When we put something together the way we wanted to, it didn't work because we didn't have any money. So we learned how to do it through our own experience and open ourselves up to the universe. I didn't realize this, and I'd be walking around talking, but this is the only mic I have, okay? So I realized something. I was 2 years in business, and I realized, my God, an epiphany. Had I not worked for all these 3 companies, if I was still with any one of the 3, there'd be no John Paul Mitchell Systems. If I did not work for all 3 and learn a different thing from all 3 companies, It would have been impossible to start John Paul Mitchell Systems. Impossible. From one company I learned this, the other company. And I would have been there. They fired me. So I said, hey, that's kind of fate moving me along. Many times in life there's fate. Many of you here in the audience are journalists. You're people that report to the press. Please let people know that. And it's one of the reasons you're here is probably fate also. There are people, there are big companies that are sustainable, that have done it from the start and carried through. Spent the money because it was the thing to do. Spent the money because it was the thing to do. And the profit they got was what they did for the planet and how other people felt about the great things they're doing. The Sea Shepherd is one of the greatest things out there. Sea Shepherd, out in the high seas. Paul Watson did a show on TV called Whale Wars. They go out to sea and they stop, whether it's the Japanese whalers illegally killing whales on the open seas and saying we're doing it for research, bunch of baloney. Anyways, to people clubbing, it's just terrible means. They're out there, and the majority of everyone on a Sea Shepherd ship is a volunteer. The majority are all volunteers. They're people that give a damn about this planet. They take their own money, their own life. They get on there as volunteers. Whatever food's donated, port to port, is what they eat. They sleep in bunks because they want to make a change, and boy, do they make a change. I wanted to see how real it was, and many years ago, I took my daughter Alexis. That's the race car champion. Alexis has broken all these world records. Alexis and I went on the Sea Shepherd in the Bay of St. Lawrence, and we lived on the Sea Shepherd as part of the crew for 1 week. And we were on the icebergs with the baby harp seals. We were broadcasting. These baby harp seals are fluffy white. They cannot go in the water right away. They're too weak. They would drown. They have to be with their mothers nursing on, that's the signal, I have 5 minutes, thank you. They have to be on the ground or on an iceberg for at least a week or two to get enough strength to go in the water. That's when these people would come out and club them to death for their furs. Great, let's make the furring illegal in certain countries. We won't buy those furs. Then they clubbed them for the penis. The Asians wanted it for some aphrodisiac. So my daughter and I went up there and we got on those icebergs with those seals. We hugged the baby harp seals, we took pictures. They're not dangerous, they're great. And we broadcast and said this: if you come and club these baby harp seals, we're gonna see you on the radar, we're gonna shoot in the little boats there off the big boat as fast as we can, and we're gonna stand between you and the baby harp seal. You wanna get one? You gotta knock me and my daughter out first. In that 1 week, not one baby harp seal was touched. Paul Watson estimates we saved 100,000 baby harp seals from needlessly being clubbed to death. So it's about not only making contributions, which we do, but giving a damn about it. I'm going to wrap this up right now by saying that in life, you see things that you think are real, and we live a life of illusion. The thing that is true and the thing that is really real is what you do because you feel it's the right thing to do and what you feel from your heart. Have your own little universe, and that's the universe that will do it. And of course, get involved with others. But learn from others, see what they do, and realize that it's we the people of the United States of America. When they segregate the two, you never get into important issues like what we're doing now. Thank you very much. My time is up. I've been signaled. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.